What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show. Me, Sean Sheehan, here on Sherdog.com, and I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by one of the best lightweights in the world, Ireland's own Archie Colgan.
They're claiming already, huh?
Well, I had all of Ireland claiming you last Friday night, so
Beautiful. I love it.
you better get ready for that onslaught of new fandom. How are you feeling? It's only 5 days after the fight, I suppose. How's the body now?
It's good. Yeah. I mean, I virtually took no damage. The hard part was just coming back and acclimating back to life here, falling asleep. And even that was relatively easy. I went to bed on time and I woke up real early the next couple of days, but even today, like I got to sleep in a little bit. 7:30 got up. So yeah, I mean, I'm good. I can't complain.
Is this a euphoric time? Like all the preparations are over, the fight is done, the money's in the bank. Is this just like the relaxed time now for you at this point?
Yeah. I mean, it's still kind of like a letdown of the emotions. I don't feel like I'm like completely past that yet. I'm still like coming down from the emotions and like trying to establish what's going on. Especially, just like that. The fight is done and then you think you're done, but then you're already thinking about what's next. So you're like it kind of just seamlessly hands off right into the next thing. So like, you got the emotions from Friday night of, competing of 3 months of a camp to lead to that moment, and then you finish, and then you're thinking about, all right, now what am I getting out that title shot? When am I doing this? So, what's happening here? What's this timeline look like? So yeah, no, my emotions have just like transferred over to the next thing, I feel like.
I like that. We'll talk about the next thing in a few minutes. Well, I want to go back over the fight first and ask you about a few things in it. Just before we do that, how many times have you watched the fight back? Are you one of those people who puts it on immediately afterwards and has watched it 10 times since, or what is your process with that?
I tried to, but I couldn't because of like the VPN and being over there. And then when I got back, I tried to watch it on my phone, but then it's like I haven't watched it yet. It's on ESPN and not ESPN Plus, but I had ESPN Plus. So I have to like get the new subscription. So I just haven't been able to watch it yet. So yes, I plan on watching that today or tomorrow, but I just haven't had the chance because, the travel and then trying to figure out the subscription stuff. And yeah.
The zone here in Ireland is always a good place to get it, so to change the VPN that's where you get it from. Just a few things from the fight, I suppose. One thing, like obviously you're a really good wrestler, and we talked in the last time we spoke about the wrestling, and I spoke to JJ as well, and he was very confident in that. And we'll talk more about that part of it in a second, but were you surprised that he kicked so much early, considering how good of a wrestler you are? And, I feel like as the fight went on, you kind of preyed on those kicks a little bit more and were able to change up your game with him. Were you surprised with the amount of kicks he kind of threw early and throughout the fight as well?
No, I figured I mean, there's two ways that you could kind of look at the kick game. Like you can look at it like, okay, it's a detriment to, a wrestler being able to get a hold of my legs, getting a hold of me and taking me down. But you can also look at it like from an offensive perspective, being like, if I can kick him, then I can keep him further away from me, and the further away that he is from me, the harder it is, the more space that there is, the more I can see a takedown coming or, whatever it is. So I think that's kind of the more the approach that he was trying to take. And like he was going to have to do something. I think that like in the boxing realm, he kind of knew that I was, in the better those exchanges, I'd land the better punches, I'd land the harder punches. So he probably wanted to just keep me at kickboxing range. So he wanted to keep active. That's my thought process and kind of like what he was doing is like keep him at bay, keep him away from me, keep him, keep my activity high with these kicks. And hopefully he kind of like runs into something, but that wasn't going to happen.
How satisfying was it for you to know that he was kind of saying, "Oh, I'm going to out wrestle Archie"? So within the first 45 seconds, suplex him twice. That was to be very satisfying.
I mean, yeah, it was no brainer. Like I mean, we had the conversation, didn't we? You fight
did.
week. You talked to me about it, and you were asking me like, "Hey, he said this and this and this," and I just laughed and said, it's not true, and he's gonna find out that my wrestling alone is too much for him, let alone the ground and pound, let alone the boxing, let alone, the calf kicks that I threw, like, let alone all the other things. But, like, yeah, it was different realms. And obviously, we saw that.
I have a bit of a two-part question here. First of all, were you surprised he was able to get up and wrestle so well, I suppose, defensively? And then how annoying were those fence grabs as well? I suppose a bit of a 2-in-1 there, maybe.
Yeah, two parts in there. No, I think that he comes from a really good team, one of the best teams in the world, if not, like, quote unquote the best team in the world, American top team. So they have great coaches and great staff, great wrestling coaches and stuff, and just good fighters and coaches. So I think they probably understood that if he submitted to the jiu-jitsu style and staying on bottom after getting taken down, then he was definitely just going to get, like, ground and pounded and beat up and definitely lose the fight that way. So I expected that when I took him down, he was going to, try to get back up and try to wrestle up there. I did not expect, the fence grabs. Well, I mean, I do always. Like, every time I take somebody down in fights, it always seems like they always grab the cage. But I always assume that because the ref talks to us in the back, hey, look, no fence grabs, none of this, I'll take a point away, because I'm like, this is your guys' first warning. If I see it out there in the cage, I'm gonna take it away. Man, he grabbed the cage in the first round. He grabbed the cage like 3 times. And later on, even in the second round, when he grabbed the cage, ref like slapped his hand, was like, do it again, I'll take just a warning. I'm like, there's how many warnings is this guy gonna get, man? Like, and then, like, when he's trying to, like, switch up positions, and he's grabbing the cage with his toes, and pulling over the position to try and, like, attack armbar and stuff. And this isn't disrespect to him, because he's trying to survive. He's trying to win the fight. He's trying to do anything he can to get the next position. He's trying to get up. So it's not like I'm sitting here mad at him, but, like, the ref, you got to do your job. Like, if you warned us in the back and said, if I see it out there, this is your warning. If I see it out there, I'm taking a point. Well, then take the point, man.
Yeah, it was a night of questionable officiating. I think we'll get to that maybe more in a minute. I want to ask you another question about your wrestling in a second, but just first of all on the striking, like, JJ came at you very aggressively at times, and I felt like your jab was just such a weapon against him, just to, like, keep that at bay. And another part of your game that they called out and they gave credit to on the broadcast was your head movement. For someone who's come from a wrestling background, to be sticking a jab into someone's face and have your head movement complimented like that, that must be so great for you to I know you haven't watched the fight back yet, but, like, for those compliments to be given to you must mean you're getting to that level. Are you really happy with that part of your game, I suppose?
Yeah. I've been in the last, like, 6 months or so, I've worked really hard on my head movement. Just, like, relaxing. What a lot of people don't know about head movement is they think it's all, like, head movement, like just moving your head. And a lot of people think it's like your foot movement, but a lot of it comes from, like, your hips and being able to, like, move your hips around and, like, if I move my butt out to the left, then my head just moved out to the right. If I move my butt out to the right and my head moves to the left. So a lot of it, like, comes from, like, relaxed and loose hips. So I've been working a lot on just, like, boxing drills of, like, moving your hips in circles opposite ways, on cue with my coach. He's telling me go this way, I got to go that way, and then go back the other way. And I've been working, diligently, probably like 3-4 days a week, probably at least 20-30 minutes. I'm working on that, like, working on that hip motion and the fluidity of, like, good hips, good head movement. Took a lot of inspiration from watching, like, Canelo and his defensive work, and being able to, like, draw out punches into the slips, or, like, punch somebody into there to draw out the punch into the slips. But yeah, I've been. It's nice to, like, put a lot of work into something and then it get acknowledged. So I haven't watched that yet, but to hear that they were acknowledging my head movement, man, yeah, that feels good. And then my jab has always been like a money thing for me. I've always had a pretty good jab.
The head movement was so standout. It was so great. Like, it was, and it, like two things you don't see that often in MMA, I suppose, and that are, as you said, come from boxing, and we see them a lot there. But the wrestling on the other side of it, then, like, one thing, watching a lot of fights and hearing people talking about it, like, a frustrating thing watching really high level wrestlers is maybe the injuries or the sorts of wrestling attacks that they go with. And like sometimes you see guys, he's a really good wrestler, and for the first round he goes for takedowns and then he can't get him and he just gives up on it. Whereas for you, you had a suplex, you had a double leg, which came after 2 or 3 minutes of striking. Then there was another 2 or 3 minutes of striking in the third round. You had a single leg. I think you had a trip off the cage as well at one stage. Did they just show themselves up, or is it a part of your thinking that I'm going to throw all different takedowns into this to ensure they don't know what I'm about to do so I can take them down more effectively?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of all of it. Like, I just have a really high confidence in if I can get a hold of your legs, whether it's a single leg or a double leg or head outside or head inside. I'm gonna take you down. Like, it doesn't matter who that person is. Like, you might stop some of my takedowns. I'm not saying that I'm going to get every takedown, but I feel confident that if I shoot in and I get to somebody's leg, double leg or single leg, head inside or outside, like, yeah, the likelihood is more favored that I'm going to finish that takedown. And so with that kind of confidence, like, it leads me to be able to make sure that I'm in a good position, a safe, protected way to get to somebody's hips. And then whatever it is, once I get a hold of you, like, I'm going to take you down. And then from behind them, yeah, the suplexes and stuff, those are just more fun. Those add more amplitude and like make it fun for the crowd. And then the trips and stuff, that's just simple, body mechanics then.
There's two more. Well, one more thing I want to ask you about a fight. Another thing I just want to compliment you on. There was at one stage where he had the foot on your hip, and you literally just caught his foot and pulled it off before he got like the butterfly hook. I was like, I don't think I've seen that before. I'm like, it's maybe the most. Why don't people do that more often? But you did it very well. And the last thing, how close do you think you are to getting the finish in the end? Because watching it back yesterday, it looked pretty close with those elbows.
Yeah, I mean, I have to watch it. I mean, I've seen that finishing sequence again, but I'm wondering if maybe like the actual fight camera has a different one, but like a different angle. But when I was ground and pounding him, the ref kept saying like I was ground and pounding him hard, and then he said like watch the back of the head, and I could have swore I was like on the side of his head, so then I had to switch the angle on the punch. And then he was like watch the back of the head, but I could have swore I was like hitting his ear, so then I had to switch the angle again on the punch. And then that gave him time to like roll out. But yeah, I mean, I think I was like another 10-15 seconds away from the stoppage. So maybe I should have, it's always like coulda, shoulda, woulda. Like maybe in my head, I was like, maybe I should have cleared position because he was hands down and feet down. So I could have kneed there, I could have cleared position and grabbed his head and thrown some knees. It's always easier said than done. But yeah, I mean, that was some brutal ground and pound there at the last 30 seconds. And if I had another 15, 20 seconds, part of that's on me. I maybe should have done that a little 20 seconds earlier and got to that. But yeah, I definitely was on my way to finishing. If that was a championship fight, or 5-round fight, I'm definitely finishing that fight.
I suppose, you were the most clear lightweight winner on the night. The other big lightweight fight was obviously the title fight in the main event, and obviously here in Ireland we might be a little bit biased, but there's a lot of debate and a lot of controversy, I suppose, over the decision. Did you get a chance to watch that fight? What did you think of the fight, and who did you think actually won it?
Yeah, I was not exactly cage side, but I was within 50 feet of that. I stayed after. I didn't eat dinner. I didn't eat anything until like 3 a.m. till I got home from the venue. I stayed. I was dedicated to watch that fight up close and personal. Yeah, I mean, obviously there's some biases. I think you're biased in your opinion. I think that it was a fair win for Usman. I do. I could see it being 3-2. In my head I haven't watched that fight back either. In my head at the moment, I had it like 4-1. But I could see it being 3-2 for sure. I could see round 5 going towards Paul Hughes. But to say that I thought 3-2 the other way, no, I don't think so.
That's fair enough. We've seen 10 rounds of Usman now, and whichever way anyone thinks either of the fights goes, you know, there was someone who put him to the pin of his collar, probably more than anyone has ever done before. If he is, if you're his next opponent, do you see a lot of stuff in his game that you're thinking, okay, Paul Hughes did this, I can do even more, and I'm going to be able to take that title off Usman?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, there's things that I could like implement and take from things that Paul Hughes has done well, and things that I've seen have troubled Usman. But then there's things that in my head I know are going to work. Like in my head, I know that these things will change up the style of fight. The offense, obviously, off top of my head, the offensive wrestling threat is going to change. The dynamic of this fight for sure. Now, how much it changes, I don't know. That's to be said. That's why we got to fight. That's what makes it interesting. But it definitely is going to change the dynamic of it because obviously he's going to have to go to some sort of defense as well. Think defensively with some wrestling, but it's also like, it's not just going to be the scapegoat that you could just run to. You definitely could try to, but it's going to be harder to score those when somebody's also, very skilled there.
Obviously, your last fight before the one last Friday was a number one contender fight, and then you won that, and then you had another fight and you won that, and Usman wins and he calls out Alfie Davis. How frustrating was that as someone, there cage side, you're thinking, what do I have to do here? I've won 2 number one contender fights now, and I might still not get it.
Yeah, man, very frustrating. I was very frustrated. Something I did well in the second half of my camp leading into this one was, instead of like allowing myself to be bitter about number one contender fight and then not getting the shot, was just like detaching myself from that and just being like, look, you got to go perform. You can control what you can control. Detach yourself from the title, detach yourself from Paul Hughes and Usman, detach yourself from all of that. You're Archie Colgan, and just go be you. So that helped me in the moment as well, because I'm like, whatever. Like I'm me. I got to go control what I can control, and keep doing what I'm doing. But at the same time, like it just doesn't make sense almost. I think Alfie did a really good job winning the tournament, but history can't just be erased. You still, less than a year ago, not even a year ago, you still got beat for 3 rounds and then finished by Mansoor. Like, and then what I did to Mansoor is, he looked like Hamburglar. Like the guy got 50 stitches in his face. I literally came after the fight with Mansoor, and I walked to the back, and the nurse came out of the doctor came out of his room and said, "What'd that guy do to you?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "I just put 48 stitches in his face." And I was like, "Wow, man, that sucks for him." So like, for sure, I could tell you Mansoor doesn't want to fight me again. If you were to ask him, you want to fight, these 2 guys, he's definitely not going to say he wants to fight me again. But would he say the same for, Alfie? Of course, he would take that fight. He dominated 3 rounds and then finished. He don't want to fight me again. I can say that. Hopefully he does fight again, but we'll see.
Last question, Archie, and we're stuck for time. I really, really appreciate the time. Like, we obviously know what you want next. You want Usman Nurmagomedov next. You've earned it. I think everyone will agree with that. What do you think will be next? Like, will it be Usman? Will it be maybe Paul Hughes? Will it be the tournament? What do you think it will be next? And even if you want to call someone out, if you want to, tell Usman why you're next and why you're going to beat him, let us know.
Yeah. It's I think that it is me, because of the reasons I just said. Like, if there was, obviously I'm biased in myself, but even if I was to take myself out of the picture and then look at the 2, options that you have, like, okay, you have this guy who is on a 3-fight win streak. That's very good, right? That looks very good, but he just got finished, okay? And then you got this guy who has never lost a single round in his MMA career. He's 13-0. You're 20-0. So neither one of you have ever lost. He just dismantled and smashed the guy who that guy's last loss was. And then he just goes, dismantles and smashes another guy. Still never lost a round in his professional career. or his career in general, amateur or professional. Never lost a round. It's like, to me, I'm be like, ooh, man, I want to see that fight. 20-0, 13-0. Those two guys, neither one of them have lost. You know, this guy's a contender. Oh, this guy's got good wrestling. And man, that's an interesting dynamic there. I got to see how that works. He never really fought a wrestler like that. I got to see how that plays out. So that's my call. Like, yeah, of course, I'm biased to myself, but even like as a spectating fan, it's like, okay, let's see how you handle the wrestler. Let's see how you handle somebody who could put you in a defensive mindset as well. That's my opinion. You know, those are my 2 cents. But you know, I'm not the PFL. I'm not those guys. I'm not making those calls.
Archie, I think you're going to get the shot, whether it's next or whether it's one more after, and I think you'll probably win it as well, because like it's, watching your last few fights and kind of going in depth in them, like, I think you're a standout fighter, and I have a great time as well for Alfie Davis, but like I think most people in the know knows it's probably you and Usman is the real fight now, who's going to win. So for my money, I hope you get it, and I'm looking forward to seeing it, and I really appreciate the time. Thank you very much, and best of luck with whatever's next.
Thank you, Sean. I appreciate you, man.
Thanks very much, Archie.